Welcome back to the channel. New bike day, new bike week this week. I'm actually down in Devon for the week. I've got a couple of weeks off work, a week at home, and I'm down in Devon for this week. So as you can see, I've got the new bike with me as well. Managed to get out yesterday for a club ride on it. Been looking at a new bike now for pretty much all summer. So I've got the Factor, my Hanzo TT bike for my time trials, my duathlons, and generally my TTs and my racing. But I needed a bit of a new road bike, say need. The Trek Mondo, which I was using, I've had for about 7 years now, which is starting to get a little bit tired. It's on the turbo pretty much all of the time now, and so I thought I'd have a look out to try and upgrade that and get a new road bike. So I've been trawling the internet, doing a bit of research, and just trying to see what deals I could get as well. So as you can see, the bike behind, I've opted for the Cervelo S5. It's actually not the new model, it's actually the previous edition model, but the new models are about 9-10 grand, and I didn't want to pay anywhere near that for sort of road bike, primarily for training and in the quick club rides on Saturday with. So luckily, I found a local shop, Dave Mellor Cycles over in Shrewsbury, who are absolutely fantastic. Actually went over to look at the Soloist. I called them up last week and got a 56 in stock, although it was boxed. And they said they'd have a look at that for me, build it up for me. So I went across on I think it was Wednesday, and they built that up for me to have a look at, but they also had this S5 in stock as well. So I had a look at both of the bikes really, and the Soloist I was looking at because it's sort of got the aerodynamic advantage, but it's also quite lightweight, and I think the price point of that is around 5k-ish. But actually the bike in reality it was quite a good bike, but it didn't have a lot on it really. I think the Fulcrum wheels went fantastic. The group set was okay. I think that was a SRAM group set on it, wireless. I think it was probably a rival. But anyway, I opted for the bike behind me, which is a Cervelo S5. So I took this out on the roads yesterday with the club, and I've been really pleased with it. Only had the one ride on it, but it felt fantastic, to be fair. And Dave Mellor Cycles has done a brilliant job on sort of getting this ready for me when I was in the store. So so this is the S5. I think it's the previous edition, so the newer editions have the slightly adjusted sort of frame with the new sort of UCI regulations. So the headset's got a slightly bigger section in here. I think the bottom bracket's slightly different, but for me, for training and maybe racing a little bit, I think this is ideal for me. So the bike itself, is the Cervelo S5. It's got sort of the rival SRAM group set, so all wireless. 12-speed cassette at the back, which is great. And actually, the beauty of this bike as well, I've managed to get one with the power meter. So that was really good as well, in terms of just so that if I want to get some sessions out on the roads, I can now actually get some good efforts and do some training on the roads as well if I want to, and sort of get that sort of power data. So I've been really pleased with the bike so far. I've got it down here for the week, so I'm hoping to get a few sort of easy miles on it this week. Like I said, I went out on the club ride yesterday. First day I went out on it, I haven't had a bike fit on it yet. I think the headset at the front, I've still got the spacers in. Unfortunately, on this model, you need to have different bolts for the different levels of stacks. So I phoned sort of Dave Mellor Cycles up on Thursday, and they're going to send me sort of the three new bolts out for the stem, so that I can take all the spacers out and sort of slam that a little bit, as I want to sort of make sure that aesthetically it looks nice, but also it's probably still a little bit high for me on the front end. So I'm going to sort of get that, hopefully when I get home from holiday. They should be out in the post, so I'll get sort of them fitted. Shouldn't hopefully have to do anything with the sort of the brake, the sort of the pipes, the hydraulic sort of pipes for the brakes or anything on the disc brakes. Obviously being wireless, there's going to be no trimming of the cable, so hopefully it should be a case of taking out the stack and then putting that back in. But I'm probably looking to go and get a sort of the bike fit anyway with the Dave Mellor cycles as well. So they've got a good bike fitting service there. So and as I've purchased a bike from them, they'll give me that for sort of half price as well. I think it's about £100 to sort of get the fit, and then I can get it back in for another service as well after about 4 or 6 weeks. Not like the old days where you probably had a bit of stretching of the cables and gear cables and things like that. With a lot of the technology today, especially with DI2 and SRAM, obviously that's so much of a problem, but it's always good just to go and sort of get the bike checked out, make sure there's no rattles, creaks, any issues with the wheels and bearings and things like that. So I look forward to hopefully doing that in a few weeks' time. But yeah, so but the bike generally, I think over the Soloist for me, I really felt this was a better buy. Actually, Dave Mellor did me a good deal on this as well. Give me a further 10% off the sort of the list price as well. So I'm really pleased with the bike there. So it was a little bit more expensive than the Soloist, but as it's the older sort of model anyway, it was nearly half the price of the new S5. So really chuffed with that. In terms of the wheel set, I've got DT Swiss wheels on this. I'm not sure what the millimetres are. I'll probably put that detail in, but it was on clinchers. But Dave Mellor cycles again. When I was there, they've sort of transferred this over to tubeless, so I'm running tubeless on this at the moment with some Victoria Corsa tyres. I may do what I've done with the Factor, probably get some beige walls on, but I'll run it with these tyres for probably the foreseeable, and then maybe next summer look to get some tan wall tyres, as I always think they just look a little bit nicer than the sort of the black. And again, some other benefits as well. I think the newer bikes now, this has got the integrated Garmin computer, which is just looks a lot sleeker than what I had on sort of my winter bike and the old Trek as well. Nicely integrated system. So so generally pretty pleased with it. I'll probably put some more videos up this week, just out on the roads and some more feedback. But in terms of the rides that I've had on it at the moment, I've been really pleased. I think the acceleration and the climbing, although not a climbing bike, actually sort of accelerating on the drops out on sort of shorter sort of climbs, felt really responsive, really powerful. I think how rigid this frame is. And with that as well, it's a strange one because it's pretty rigid, pretty not feeling like you're losing any power transfer through the frame, which is fantastic. Even on sort of some of the climbs that we were doing on the club ride this week, it seemed to be climbing just as well as my Trek, which is a lot lighter a bike in that sense. But some of it's probably actually the wheels on the bike as well. In terms of the DT Swiss wheels, feel pretty good for this price point. The frame, like I said, is very rigid, but also very comfortable. I've seen a few reviews saying that it's quite a stiff frame, but actually from a comfort and compliance, I was out on it for a couple of hours, quite intense session yesterday, and it seemed to, my back and everything seemed to be fine. I wasn't sort of in any pain, and it seemed pretty comfortable, to be fair. Whether some of that is riding the tubeless setup as well. Previously, I've always had clinchers on my road bikes. I ride tubeless on the Hanzo, but I think obviously you can not run the risk of sort of snake bite, so you can run the pressures a little bit lower. But I think I was running sort of 80 psi yesterday. I mean, I'm quite right. I'm only about 65, 66 kilograms, but it felt pretty good for me. Cornering, just the confidence with this bike as well seemed a lot better than my old Trek, which is now 7 years old and a very sort of a different bike in that sense. But actually, I felt first ride out on this yesterday, I felt very confident on the corners. It seemed to be picking up speed well, and just generally felt a really sort of good bike to be riding, especially over a couple of hours on a quick quick ride yesterday, averaging sort of 21.5 on an undulating sort of loop as well. So generally, initial reaction is pretty pleased. Yeah, a few things I need to get used to. I've always ridden the sort of Shimano group sets, so just in terms of the hoods on the SRAMs, they feel slightly different to the Dura-Ace. Depending on the clean, whether they're as comfortable, I'm not sure yet. So they just felt a little bit more sort of not sharp, but they weren't as smooth as the Shimano hoods. But I am running sort of the older sort of non-digital sort of Dura-Ace setup on my old bike, so maybe that's got something to do with it as well. But yeah, just getting used to the electronic shifting. Although I've ridden the i2 on my old Trek time trial bike, my Trek Speed Concept, and I've got SRAM blips on the Factor Hanzo. This is the first road bike I've had with electronic shifters, so getting used to actually using the right gear to shift up and the left one to shift down, and then to double shift pressing both the buttons is just took a little bit getting used to, but to be fair, it wasn't that difficult to sort of change that sort of process really, and getting used to that sort of reaction and changing. And so like I said, generally first thoughts, good bike. I had been looking at some others bikes like the Canyons, but again, I'm a little bit worried about Canyon. Heard some good reviews, but actually just not having that bike shop for me local, and just if it gets delivered and there's a problem with it, what do you do? The shop in Shrewsbury is sort of an hour's drive for me, just under actually. So it's a local bike shop, and like I said, when I went in this week, very, very helpful. So I really recommend anyone in this sort of Shropshire area or West Midlands area to give those guys, drop in and give those guys a look if you're looking for any bikes. They stock everything from sort of Cervelo to Cannondale to, I think they've got Specialised in there as well, but they've got quite a broad range of bikes in there. So you get that added benefit of if there's any problems. Like I said, I called up about the stem this week, and they're going to send some bolts out to me. So I've been sort of really good through that. Through the sort of the customer experience has been really good through this purchase process and getting the bike. So yeah, hopefully get some footage on the bike this week, and that's probably it for me today. But yeah, any questions, any thoughts, let me know, and I'll give you some sort of my comments on the bike and how it's gone. But hopefully see you all soon, and if you haven't, like and subscribe.